In this brief lecture, we'll be looking at the Aksumite Empire, which was an important trading power in northeastern Africa and the southern Arabian Peninsula in the first millennium, or between the centuries of 100 and about 950 CE. Aksum was intensely involved in the trade network between India and the Mediterranean world. Aksumite merchants also played important roles in the transshipment of products such as textiles and spices. The Aksumite Empire developed a very powerful navy, both to protect its trade networks and to enforce its imperial goals. The Aksumites, we believe, were also the first people to use the term Ethiopian to describe themselves. Sometimes you'll see Aksum and the Aksumite Empire spelled differently, sometimes with an X instead of a KS. The Aksumite Empire is a precursor to the modern state of Ethiopia, and in many ways this empire was just another phase of an Ethiopian culture that dates back thousands of years. In terms of the rise of Aksum from being sort of an important city-state to a kingdom and eventually a small empire, we know that by the 4th century CE, the Aksumites started minting their own coins. This gave them a distinct advantage over other regional powers that lacked coinage or that had to import coinage from Asia or from Greece or Rome. Aksum was also located with access to both the Nile River basin and the Red Sea, and thus it possessed a geographical advantage to be a trade power. In terms of exports, ivory, the frankincense, gold, and myrrh from biblical lore that you may remember, crystal, brass, and copper works were among their exports. These were products in high demand in the Mediterranean Sea basin as well as the Indian Ocean basin. European historians, interestingly, originally tried to make the argument that Aksum was sort of an imported culture and that it probably came from the Arabian Peninsula. However, this theory has been long since debunked, proven to be false, and both archaeological and historical evidence points to the Aksumite Empire being an indigenous African culture. This early tendency to assume that Aksumites came from somewhere other than Africa probably reflects, in large measure, outdated and race-based stereotypes of supposed African inferiority held by Europeans in the 18th, 19th, and early 20th centuries. European scholars, that is. Of course, there are still people possessing these outdated notions in the 21st century. One of the fascinating features of Aksumite culture was the emergence of a structure known by the Greek word of stela. The singular form is spelled S-T-E-L-E, so S-T-E-L-A-E would be pluralized. It's a unique Aksumite architecture to help support the mass of stones sticking out of the ground. A stela has heavy counterweights buried underneath. Sometimes these stela measured up to over 100 feet tall, and as the slide indicates, typically these were to announce things, to mark graves, to identify important buildings, or to publish messages, administrative messages, things like law. Here's an example of an Aksumite era amphora, which was a container used in the conveyance and storage of both dry and liquid products. Typically, though, it was used for wine. This particular amphora was found near the city of Amsara, which is in present-day Eritrea on the Red Sea coast. We're not sure of the original origin of amphoras and objects like this. They seem to have sprung up independent of each other in Greece, in China, in India, and in northeastern Africa. Some of these could hold quantities up to a half-ton or more. This particular amphora is much smaller, probably in the 50-gallon range, and it dates to approximately the 6th century CE. One of the most noteworthy individuals of the Aksumite Empire was the Aksumite king Ezana. He appeared in numerous Western documents from the time period, so we have corroborating historical evidence of his reign. Again, early on, European historians tended to discount the validity of Aksumite and Ethiopian history, which we now have much better records and a much better understanding of this unique culture and civilization. Ezana probably came to power as a child, with his mother acting as regent. In his life, he conquered numerous Upper Nile kingdoms, or Meroitic kingdoms, if you prefer, Meroitic. Coins from his reign have been found as far away as India, which of course indicates there was a significant trade networks that the Aksumites were part of. Interestingly, over the course of Ezana's reign, the coins changed from pagan images of discs and crescents to designs featuring crosses, which gives more evidence of his adult conversion to Christianity. Ezana is a saint in the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church. His feast day is October 1st. If you happen to be in Ethiopia, you can celebrate. He may have been influenced by a Christian missionary from Syria as a child, Fortinius, but his conversion to Christianity appears to have occurred when he was an adult. And it is from this point forward that the Aksumite Empire, the Aksumite Kingdom, and later the Ethiopian kingdoms became and remained Christian powers. The Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church has a current membership of about 45 million followers. The word Tewahedo translates something like unified, and it refers to the church belief that the divine and human nature of Jesus Christ were one or unified. This is in contrast with Western Christian traditions, most of which hold that the natures of Christ are separate. So he has a divine and a human nature in Western Christian traditions. Interestingly also, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church asserts that it is in possession of the Ark of the Covenant that Indiana Jones went for a long adventure trying to find. The artifacts they claim to be the Ark are located in a treasury near the Church of Our Lady Mary of Zion. There's a church text known as the Kebra Nagast, or the Glory of Kings. That's Kebranagast, which indicates that the real Ark of the Covenant was transported to Ethiopia by King Menelik I with some help from angels, while a fake Ark was left in its place in the temple in Jerusalem. The church also is noted for what are known as monolithic churches. Here's an example of a monolithic church, the Church of St. George of Lalibela. It was carved from living rock in the early 13th century. It is the most well-known and the last built of the 11 churches in the Lalibela area. Known to some as the 8th wonder of the world. Of course, no matter where you go in the world, somebody is pushing an 8th, 9th, or 10th wonder of the world. These are very fascinating structures of great historical significance. The dimensions of the complex, it's about 75 feet by 75 feet by 80 feet in height. If you can look, you can just barely see a small baptismal pool outside the church in an artificial trench. And services are still held in these monolithic structures or built from stone structures. The Aksumite Empire is also known for adopting the Ge'ez language. It's an ancient South Semitic language. Examples of the Ge'ez script have been found as far back as the 5th century BC, although there's a proto-Ge'ez script that dates back another 300 or 400 more years. And we suspect that this language in the script may be even older than that. Today it's only used in the liturgy of the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church. It is not a functioning language. So much like Latin would be used in some Roman Catholic churches, at least pre-Vatican II churches, Ge'ez is used by the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. We believe it died out as a vernacular language about the 10th century CE. And like most European languages, Ge'ez reads from left to right. This slide shows the transliteration between Roman script and Ge'ez. You can see on here that there are no vowels listed. A modern version of the Ge'ez script includes vowels, but like most Semitic languages, the vowels are sort of implied rather than having specific characters for the vowels. The rise of Islam in the 7th century CE meant that there was now a religious competitor that also had political aspirations in the region, especially in the Arabian Peninsula and moving north along the Nile into Egypt. That is one reason for the gradual decline of the Aksumite Empire. The rise of Persia as a trade power also interfered with the economy of the Aksumites. And if you can visualize, actually you can see on this particular satellite image, Persia would be almost dead center in this map, and the Aksumite Empire much farther to the southwest. So Persia was better positioned to take advantage, especially what would become known as the Silk Road. We should also understand that there was some environmental degradation in the empire. There were a number of serious droughts that weakened the kingdom. There were problems with over-farming that also reduced the fertility of the soil. In addition, some agricultural lands in the west and the Western Territory controlled by the Aksumite kingdom became subsumed by the Sahara Desert and the Sahel over time. Finally, we can look to the decline of Aksum, the city of Aksum, as a political base. Other cities in the region rose in prominence, thus weakening the power base of the Aksumite kings. However, Aksum stayed important as a religious center.